the next set of issues I want to present, there's two where I want to suggest that there are clear time trends that will enable response. Projecting to the future would be fairly evident, and one where it is probably not. The first two are the marijuana and same-sex marriage issues. Should the use of marijuana be made legal or not? It's majority no, but I think if you look at the drift of this chart, you see a very clear time trend and a suggestion that it's likely to continue. When we look at cross-sectional data, I can provide another indication of why I think that trend is likely to continue, and it's right here. The percent who said yes, marijuana should be made legal amongst the 65 plus is one of the smallest numbers, okay? These people, in historical terms, are going to die off first. Who's going to replace them? The 18 to 29s, for whom the answer is 58%. Now, of course, what we don't know is the generation that follows. We cannot necessarily infer whether or not their attitudes may be different. But just, this is what we call a cohort effect. There are a great many political attitudes. We tend to form most of our political attitudes in our 18 to 22 kind of college age kind of range. And what is going on historically when you go through that age period will explain a lot about your, not perfectly, but it'll explain a lot about your lifetime political attitudes. So in an issue like this, the attitudes of the 18 to 29-year-olds is likely to be the attitudes of the 28 to 39-year-olds 10 years from now. Unless something caused, obviously, that's not a total predictive, but just mere replacement of different groups would suggest that this trend is likely to continue. So here's an issue where the evidence suggests that we got something going on and it's following a predictable pattern. Interestingly, we broke this out by party identification, and we see something enter the by color here. The red are the Republicans, the blue is the Democrat, following the tradition. The other color is independents. And you see what happens is, since 1990, independents and Democrats have increased their support. Republicans followed this trend until about 2000, and then they've been relatively flat since then. But the average is going up because you've got two sets of numbers going up and one getting down. But this explains a lot of the kind of the social differences, emerging social basis of difference between Republicans and others. Same-sex marriage and civil unions. This is a complicated chart, but let me explain what it does. I know you can't read all the letters here, but the reason I wanted to show you this one is that the blue chart shows that the proportion favoring same-sex marriage around 1995. And then the gray number is the same number in 03, 04. The red dot shows in 2008, 2009. What's powerful about this is that this isn't one set of data. This is 50 separate sets of data. In every single state, the number went up during this period. In almost every single state, Utah accepted, it went up in the first period and up in the second period. The states that had the highest level of support to begin with tended to go up more than others. The state, that would be like New York and most of New England. Less of an increase, Utah, Oklahoma, Alabama, Mississippi, Bible Belt, basically. When you have the same thing going on in 50 states, it's much stronger evidence than just a single national poll. This line right here is 50%. That's suggestive of the approximate point when a legal gay marriage would pass the ballot. And you notice that that threshold has been passed in about 5 states. And the red dot is solid in those states that have actually legalized gay marriage. And you see there's a very strong correlation, though not perfect. There's one exception down here, which is the state of Iowa, which is solid because it has legalized gay marriage, but they did that by court decision. This data suggests that if that were put to a public vote, it would lose. But in the places where it is passed, it suggests that at this point it is a close call. Now, separate chart here. The red dots here is support for gay marriage. The blue triangle is civil unions. And what this shows is that there's about a 10 to 20 point swing. When you lower the stakes from gay marriage to civil unions, it buys you about 20 points. Tends to be fairly uniform across states. And it suggests that if civil unions go to the ballot, it's going to win, or potentially could win in more states than not. Now, this, of course, is not an absolutely perfect predictor, but I can pretty much guarantee you, that would win in Massachusetts. I can pretty much guarantee it would lose in Utah. There's some in the middle here where the prediction would not be perfect. But you look at this chart and you got a pretty good idea what the starting point. Obviously, a campaign can be very well run. But the advice here would be, if you're in these states, don't go for an election. If you're in these states, do. In the middle, you might take a shot at it. You might win, you might lose. Okay, it tells you the starting point. In any case, an election can, the process of a campaign can move numbers, but usually not a great deal.